Let's talk about some of my favorite books. A lot of the books that I have read when I was young have left an impression on me and have become favorites. Luckily, I did grow up reading really good books. This may be a good video for those who are in a reading slump or don't read, or even that don't like to read and have no interest in it. The first tip that I have if you don't like to read is to limit your phone use, and you'll be surprised at how your engagement and your desire to read will go up. But just know too that loving to read can be a practiced thing and it can be a learned thing. If you don't like to read and you've never liked to read, that's not a personality trait. It's not a character trait. It can change. And so I'm going to mention a few of those books that may be good stepping stones for you to get back into reading if you haven't, or if you never have before. One of my favorite books of all time, this is my favorite book of all time, and it is Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis. Now, here are a couple reasons why I love this book. One, I am a Christian. I read and process and filter things through a biblical worldview. This book is not overtly Christian, although it has extremely, in some scenes, Christian and biblical themes, values, and allegory. This book is about two sisters who live in a kingdom called Glome. Their father, the king, is a maniac. He is abusive and a terrible father. Laurel is this gal right here, and then her sister Psyche. This book is a retelling of the myth of Cupid and Psyche. And this book overturns and undoes a lot of things and a lot of ways that we think about God and we think about ourselves in relation to God's holiness, God's purity, and our the cases and the complaints that we bring before Him, the ways that we blame Him for things. It's just a very good analysis and diagnostic of the way that our hearts apart from God will process and handle His world, pain, suffering, truth. Things are still going over my head, and this is the third time I've read this book. This is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. I just have a memory of reading this book while I was at the beach. The prose in this I really like. It's simple, but I do find that it is deep, and it's about this old man who is out on a boat and he is trying to catch something. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's just a really good, again, analysis of what it means to be successful. At least that's what I gleaned from this book. And also a very interesting depiction of solitude and what that can, the effect that that can have on the human mind. The Giver by Lois Lowry. I think this is maybe, it's just general fiction, but it's like dystopian is kind of how it felt, like science fiction. I have not read this book in a long time, so please don't quote me on the specifics. But people are taking medications to suppress emotions and feelings that are natural to the human experience in order to sort of make everything very level. There's no real variations between people, emotions, experiences, opinions, thoughts. This is a chosen one trope. There is the main character, Jonah, who one of the things, his requirements in this community is to go and be trained by this master who is called the Giver. And I won't say anything else about what that entails because it will give the book away. I really do love this book because it offers a really hopeful outlook on the reasons why we need both pain and joy for those things to coexist. Thankfully, we are able to have the opportunity to make sense of suffering and to know that it accomplishes something, it is accomplishing something, and that you need the contrast of both in life. Next is Feminine Appeal. This book is about just how to be a better mom and a better wife from a Christian point of view. It has some unpopular opinions and I don't remember necessarily disagreeing with anything in it, and this is just some of the table of contents. Transformed by Titus 2, the delight of loving my husband, the blessings of loving my children, the safety of self-control, the pleasure of purity, the honor of working at home, the rewards of kindness, the beauty of submission. This book will not allow you much wiggle room for excuses, and that's good. Seeing Green by Tilly Delahaye. This book is about envy. She goes through different types of envy that we have towards others or may experience. And I use that word lightly because envy is a sin. It's not just something that happens to us. I am very passionate about this topic. This was just a good analysis on the topic of envy. There are not a lot of books written on envy that I have seen within the Christian circle. And so it's been a long time since I've read this book, but it was very eye-opening. Also helps us to evaluate and sort of identify these areas of envy, and then also like what to do with it. Next is The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. This is probably one of my top 5 favorite books of all time. Up here, along with Till We Have Faces. Surprisingly enough, George MacDonald was, in C.S. Lewis's words, his master. There's a lot of gleanings from George MacDonald that C.S. Lewis has, and I'm starting to see parallels between the two now that I've read multiples of their works. This book is about a kingdom and a princess that lives in the kingdom, and the kingdom is above. You can kind of see in the cover of the book, there are goblins who live below the mountain that this kingdom is sitting on top of. And the princess, maybe I shouldn't say anymore, just read the book. It's about a princess. There are goblins involved. There's a really brave boy involved. There's a really brave princess involved. One thing that I love about this book is, again, there are these faith elements and Christian allegories where it's a challenge to yield yourself to the truth and to not depend on what you would wish or what you think is there or what you think is true, but what actually is true. Those are some really strong themes. Also, this is a really good book for parents as well, and how to let your children go in a godly way and in a way that's profitable for them and for you. There's a few scenes in here that the main characters are misunderstood, and it's like essential to the story that they don't care that they're misunderstood, and that drives the plot forward. And so I think that's really important because we in our culture today, I feel like it's a very popular thing that one of our main issues is wanting to be understood and wanting to be represented in every sphere. And I think that there can be places for that. And I'm not saying that there's never a time or point in which we see ourselves in characters or would like to be or like to emulate characters that possess certain traits that we want. But I think it's important that we carry on and are faithful and do the next right thing and continue on regardless of if we are understood or not or respected. The next one is by Anne Morrow Lindbergh, and that is The Gift of the Sea. I love this edition too. I have a fun memory of reading this book on the way back from the beach. I had bought this book in Nashville at Parnassus Books a few years ago. And then I remember taking this with me and reading the entire thing on the way back from the beach. And I don't know if I would necessarily agree with everything in this book. I just have some nostalgic feelings attached to it. And then also her prose is very beautiful. This is a lady who it's sort of like reads like a memoir. She goes and has a vacation at the sea by herself and is sort of reflecting on life. I would probably need to reread that book to say that I would endorse every perspective that she may have on some things, but for the most part, I did enjoy it. All right, those are some of the books that I love and really would like to honestly reread again soon. But hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.